Well, I'd like to hear what the mayor has to say.
Good evening, council. You know, I've watched the emails go back and forth, and I'm listening to you tonight, and I've listened to you for the past couple of weeks talk about this subject. And when you're in my seat, because I was in your seat, it's different. And so I just want to share with you what the differences are, and I hope that you'll listen. Currently, we've had an issue with who hires the director. Well, finally, the law director ruled that the mayor hires the director. In my opinion, you haven't even given that an opportunity yet to see if that would work. And it will work, because the mayor, whether it's me or Frank Ciccanelli or the next person, all wants to pick the director that's going to be successful. When that director's successful, the mayor's successful, and all of you are successful. We finally got that opinion just this year, not even a couple months ago. And what the Park and Rec Board told us at a luncheon was that, Perry, you tell us what is the right thing, and we're going to go with that. We're going to go with that. You just tell us. So Perry writes an opinion and says, the mayor has the properties of hiring the Parks Director. And I think that's the right answer. Mr. Slagle, you were at a park board meeting a few months ago, maybe even a month ago, and you called them all buffoons. You called them buffoons, you recall. Now you're going to give the Park and Rec Board that opportunity to run the entire Park and Rec Center, and that's what they're doing right now. They're running the rec center. And let me share with you that we have an employee right now in the senior center working. She's been working full time, but she's not been compensated properly. She just shared that with me. The Park and Rec Board has been over that the entire time. The entire time. She has to have back sick pay, she has to be offered insurance, and she has to have her current vacation allocated to her. Last year, Mr. Strawn was put in place. Not by this administration. The Park and Rec Board put him in place. Mr. Strawn lied. He cheated. He did things he shouldn't have done. And then the Park Board recommends to us that we get rid of him. They recommended to us that we get rid of him. So we do. We say, you're terminated, Mr. Strawn. We bring on Mr. Nist. We find out that no one paid the golf cart lease, which the Park and Rec Board was overseeing. That's why you have to have the mayor and the safety director. Day-to-day operations. You all can't do that. You're here 2 hours a week. The park board can't do that. They're there 2 hours a month. I'm telling you that I need to ask you to let this process that we already have in place, we just got it, 2 months. I can share with you that I've worked with Doug myself. We've really had a great relationship. I want him to be our parks director. I want him to be there. I've asked Mr. Coher to work with him, and he has on the budget. That's an area that Doug was weak on, and we know that. And so we're making him successful. If you just let us do the administrating, we will find one of the best parks directors that we have. All we want to do is make him successful. And by playing politics, that's what this is right now, playing politics with this position, when it obviously is the mayor's appointment, you are going to make a management disaster. Because now you have 5 park board members tugging at him and 9 council members. So now he has not me and Jimmy to answer to, he's got 14 people to answer to. I think it's a management disaster. I've talked with other people, and they also agree it's a management disaster, that our CEOs, superintendents of schools, they would never let 5 park board members or 9 city council or 5 school board members choose their principals. They choose their principals, and the board approves of them. I don't mind if all of you want to approve my appointment. I'll be happy to allow you to approve my appointment. That is the right thing to do. You cannot take the administration out of these department directors, because that's what I'm hired to do on a day-to-day basis. And Doug, have we not made great progress? We've got a walking path that would not have happened. The park board didn't do that. We worked with Mr. Brian Burrow. We have another great surprise coming this week in a press release that you'll all be very pleased with. That took a lot of hard work to do. And I just ask you to let this process happen at least for a year. Give this a year, and then if it's not working, then come back and change it. But I can guarantee you that we're going to make Doug Nist the most wonderful parks director we've had in this city because we're giving him the tools. If we're not in the picture, who's going to help him with the budgeting? Who's going to help him make those critical decisions every single day? Who's going to do that? That's what we're here to do, and I just ask that you allow us to do that. Thank you for moving me up, Don. Do you have a question for me?
Yes, I do. Then would you recommend, if this council would decide to go that route, would you recommend that we get rid of the park board? Because what would be the sense in having it?
I think that they're really needed as an advisory board, and Perry was supposed to have something prepared tonight for me to share with you. I think they should be an advisory board. I think the residents need a place to go where they can, share their concerns, and I think that's what they're there for. But I got to tell you, I got a complaint from Affinity Medical Center about our legends, that they did not respond quickly for their golf outing, and we were right on it. Now you got to ask one of you, who's going to take those calls? We fixed it that quick. If you just let us do our job, we'll do it, and you'll all be very happy and be very proud.
I have to react. I only called them, they would look like buffoons when they were having 5 people come in, some of them from out of state, several hours, and they were talking about canceling the meeting. And if I recall correctly, they were talking about canceling the meeting because they didn't want the administration person in there. If I recall, that's what it was.
But you know what?
So, first of all, don't misinterpret what I said. I happen to think the board does a very good job for the most part. I also think, however, that it's too often been used as a political tool by administrations in the past and this administration. If Mr. Nist is such a great person to be the department head, why is he an interim?
We're working with him, and we said we just...
Well, let's appoint him today. You say right today you're appointing him. Not that he's an interim. I want to know why you're making him an interim appointment.
Well, I just answered that, Larry. We're working with him. He's weak on the budgeting skills. We're working with him to make him successful. And we said just give us 6 months, and if he does well, we'll put him in. I mean, that would be what anyone does in business. You know, we have to work with him, and that's what we're doing. I gave him an idea, which he's got on the agenda. We can't afford 3 different superintendents. But the park board should be worrying about this instead of fighting about the legends, and that's what this is about. It's about the legends. They're mad about the debt. I didn't create the legends, but it's part of our city. We've got to take care of it. And so that's what this is about, is that Mr. Nist is a good pick. We just said let us work with him. That's all. And have we not worked together? You're going to see on the Parks agenda an assistant Parks director position. Because before we had 3 superintendent positions, about $53,000 each. We can't afford that anymore. Back when, in 1995, when we could, and the levy was passed, we could afford that. We can't today. So we worked together to streamline and have one position for about $53,000, and he will help Doug and oversee those departments because we can't afford it. That's what we bring to the table as administration. Yes, Nancy.
I'm sorry, Kathy. So you're telling us that all of your other department heads are very good with their budgets, they know how to do all that. Doug is the only one that does not know how. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that we just wanted to work a little bit more with him, and then we plan on making him our director. We do.
And this,
I want him to be a little bit stronger.
this
That's all.
assistant director, I mean, he's been doing I don't want to argue about Doug in front
Sure.
of him. I think this is very embarrassing for him. We probably should have had him leave the room before we started.
Well, it's being taped. I mean, so.
Well, anyway, the assistant superintendent or whatever now that person, would that go up for, do people have to apply for that, or are you going to just appoint someone?
Nope, they have to apply for it, and Doug will select that person. Doug will select the person that will work best underneath him. you know, we're not trying to micromanage, but every department director is held accountable. And that's what we've lacked in the past. And we are holding our people accountable. I don't have to worry about Keith. He's on it. He knows his budget, Tony Arick, he knows it. I just want to have a little bit of time to work with Doug to make him strong. That's all I need, is some time for that. And I think that that's appropriate. Most people, when they have a job, there's a little bit of probationary time. And if you want me to make him director by September 1st, I think we can get there, because I'm feeling very confident with that.
I mean, Doug's been with us for years.
Yes,
That's what I don't understand.
he has. Is that what this is all about?
No, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm just talking for myself, I'm not talking about anybody else.
I'm very proud of Doug. We've given him a lot of things that he's had to handle. He's worked with Ken on his budget. He's worked with Jimmy on making solid decisions for the department. And what we want to prevent is the Bob Strawn scenario that we had last year. And if you want to look at the records, I sent back to the park board, just make him interim until you really make sure that that's what you want, him as the director. And within a week or two, they had it right back on my desk that they wanted him as the director. And I really wanted them to take their time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with taking time in grooming him to be the best parks director that we can make him. And I think he's going to do a great job. I do. Yes, sir.
Didn't you write him up for not being around on a vacation day?
It wasn't a vacation day at all. He did not answer his phone. And as I said, we're making our staff accountable. It was not a vacation day. Mo Rickett said that to me, well, that was a vacation day. It was not. Our staff is to be accountable. When we need them, we call them. If it's the fire chief, he's out there. If it's the police chief, he's out there. We had an alarm going off at the Legends and no one answered the phone. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the director is responsible and we're going to hold them accountable.
I understood that he had a signed paper by Mr. Johnson that he had the day off for vacation.
Not that I'm aware of. No, sir. Jimmy?
That may have been a day off. This was in the evening. Doug was home, and I've answered my cell phone when I'm out of town.
Jimmy, was it signed up for that day? It was
I
a
cannot
Saturday.
say
I don't
for
believe
sure.
it was, no, I don't believe it was a Saturday.
It's a Friday night. It was a Friday
Friday
night.
night,
It was a
okay.
Friday night.
Well,
It
as
was
far
the
as I
day-
know,
the day
Doug,
after park board meeting,
Doug never shared that with me that he was off. Never shared that
it
with me.
was, and I think maybe Mrs. Keller might have a copy.
Well, he never shared with me that he was off. So,
I know it, so, I don't know.
this is the first I'm hearing that, besides Mr. Rickett saying that, but I've never seen a paper, and he never shared that.
I don't think we should be discussing personnel matters up here.
Right. But anyway, I'd just like you to give us a year on this and allow us, there's no politics on my part with hiring Doug Nist. You know,
I don't think that's what this is about.
I want him to be successful.
I think it's about the fact that we have 5 people on the park board that don't know whether they're coming or going.
Well, Perry just answered that. He answered that, and it's only been 2 months, but that wasn't good enough then. See, he answered it, and then that still wasn't good enough.
Well, John Farrell answered it a different way, so it's an opinion.
I don't think John Ferrero ever answered it. It was very
It
vague,
was an opinion.
but it was, the opinion is the law of the director, the law director. It is the law. I really think you all need to really think this through. When you're in your seat, you look differently when you're in my seat. And, you know, that means we have zero control over him. I'm not going to take the complaints then. Who's going to take the complaints? I mean, is the chairman of
They
Parks
should
and
be calling
Rec?
the park department, they shouldn't be calling the mayor anyway.
Well, that's,
You should have those calls go to the park department.
well, we do.
That's what I told
We do
people
have
when
them
they
go to
call
the Parks
me.
Department. I called Doug and had him call Liz Pruitt at the hospital right away. We handled it. So I just think that that's not, what you're doing is not the right answer, and it is going to be a management nightmare.
Anyone else have any comments?
I have comments, but not necessarily from me.
First, I guess I would say, I appreciate some of the efforts that the mayor has made, obviously with the walking path, working with Doug and trying to strengthen whatever weaknesses he may have. I think those are great. I'm glad to see that happening down at the parks and that the administration is being proactive. However, there were a few points just made, and I just wanted to kind of point out some things. I don't view the director of the Parks and Recreation Department as a principal. I view them as a superintendent of schools, similar as that. And the superintendent of schools is very much so appointed by the Board of Education. So I think there would be a similar, except obviously the big elephant in the room or whatever would be that the Parks and Rec Board is not elected. But they are appointed, 3 appointments coming from the mayor, 2 appointments coming from the Board of Education. So if those individuals are not capable of making sound decisions and properly managing the business of the Parks and Recreation, that would be in part due to improper appointments being made by either the mayor or the Parks and or the Board of Education. Furthermore, this piece of legislation that you spoke, or that you handed us, has education requirements and experience requirements, which I would beg to say that if someone fulfilled those, they would be more than competent in handling many of the managerial problems that we have down there, the personnel issues, the lady down at the senior citizen home, things like that. An experienced director would have that, and they have those education experience under their belt. So I'm not so sure those points are going to ring very true with me. However, the fact that the mayor's been proactive, has tried to grab some of this, that does kind of ring a little bit of a bell with me. I'm still on the fence. I'm not going to say I'm one way or the other, but I just want to make sure that we look at the picture and see everything from all sides, that there is a way that this legislation could produce a competent and very capable individual to run the department.
I still think we need to get something on one way or the other. It doesn't have to be my idea. It can be a combination, an amalgamation of what we do. But anyone that say that politics hasn't been played in the Parks Department for at least the whole 6 years I've been here, one way or the other, just isn't facing reality.
I know Kerry has gone on record here verbally and adamantly giving us his opinion. Do we have his opinion in writing? And if so, can I get a copy? Because again, with everything we've gotten, I would just like to look at what Kerry issued a couple months ago, the mayor was referencing.
I think it was sent out, the letter was sent out to everyone.
Okay. I don't know if I misplaced it or what. Mayor Duff, is there any way you can just resend it to me?
The problem is, in my opinion with that, is that any law director can come to a different conclusion because the current statute gives them that opportunity. And you need to remove the vagueness one way or the other, in my opinion. Because I literally have sat through meetings in which the whole meeting was discussing who had the authority to do what, and who could do what, and who was going to overrule them if they did it. And that shouldn't be done, that's all I'm saying.
I think what you should do is you should have your committee, try to persuade your committee to sign it, get 3, and put it on the agenda, and let's start meeting and talking about it. And you can always amend it, change it, you can kill it in the end, vote it down, you could table it for further discussion, but I think it should go on there, and I think the committee should sign it, put it on there for conversation. If you guys vote it down in the end, well, then they'll stay the way it is.
Mr. Lewis?
I was just going to say, I will probably sign this without a problem, but my reason is this. We need to just go ahead, put it up there, vote yea or nay. If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, then we default to the director, the law director, and if we feel like we need to clean up language, then we clean it up to make it more clear. We don't need to wrestle this forever. And I guess that's kind of where I fall into that. And I think we do have to take into consideration, the mayor made some very good points. I mean, some of her points to the fact that she is the administrator, this is what she does, regardless of where you sit in political alignment with her, she still is the mayor, and it is her job, it's what she has experience at. We have to take that into account, that experience is worth something.
Mr. Massey?
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make, is I don't think 3 readings unreasonable. I think we want to rush through something. I think we should just go ahead as far as the 3 readings. we see good cause to, say, table and amend it.
I just want to say, if you all recall, this is pretty much how we worked on the building code that we passed over a year ago. Remember, we started out, we kept amending and changing, amending and changing, so we finally got where we wanted to be. So that's the way it should be.
Mary Beth, I'd request that you put the second draft that I put out there into a request for legislation form and circulate it amongst my committee to see if I get my 3 signatures.
Okay.
Thank you.
Larry, you're wanting that for this next Monday? Can we assume that she emails that legislation to us and we give her verbal commitments? That would suffice?
Yeah, we can, I think we should start it. I mean, we've been discussing it for a long time. It's time to get the thing moving one way or the other. I gave plenty of notice for 2 months and got no input, other than from some members of the committee, some individual council people, some members of the rec board. And frankly, it really needs to be resolved one way or the other.
Get some
So,
verbals with always.
I mean, we could always vote it down, or, you know, if we feel it needs further time, we can extend it into the future if that's necessary. Mr. Hanson?
Verbal approvals worked for a long time.
I just wanted to clarify, Mary Beth, so she knows her
Right, so
expectations.
she's, understands she has to get you and who's the other person, Nancy? Sure.